Yes, I'm making that very clear statement. We shouldn't worry about feedback. Total waste of time. It's not what we need. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why you shouldn't bother with feedback in your business right now. Okay, so let's just stop for a second, have a think about feedback in its own right. Think about the context of what we say, what we do, how we feel when feedback is actually placed upon, or better still, the request for feedback is actually placed upon us. Right? So we walk into a shop, we have a shopping experience, good, bad, or indifferent. We walk out and someone's there with a clipboard wanting to know all about how our experience was shopping today at blah, blah, blah. Well, let's be honest about it. That's the old school way of doing it. And it has been around for a long time. But regardless of whether you had a great experience or a negative experience, what we actually know is that right now your brain actually just sees that type of formal feedback or that request for formal feedback as nothing more than a transactional approach to business. It's literally the business wanting to take, steal, borrow more of your time to try and ultimately make something better for them to sell, for them to grow, make more money. I know that I'm talking very, one-dimensional, but ultimately that's what it is. We get into our head, and this is what our brain feels, is that it becomes a transaction. When someone asks for feedback, we're going to be asked to rate them out of 10. We're going to have an NPS score and stuff, a net promoter score. That's that old chestnut, right? And I know that there's some health companies, in fact, I know of 2 of them in New South Wales alone, that spend about $400 a month with a company that sends this out via text message, and they have to do an NPS score out of 10 and give feedback and things like that. Now, here's the challenge, is that if we know that it's being perceived by the people's brains as a type of transaction that's ultimately going to change what the person does or says in future, so to better sell or market to them to make more money, then how is that in any way a benefit to the business? So when we stop and think about that, it makes us actually wonder whether our approach to the word feedback is actually taken in the right context alone. Now, with a whole bunch of our leading allied health professionals in the Kaizen tribe, we've been talking about a lot about this in the last couple of weeks. We've been doing a lot of work with Michael Griffiths, who's, as you probably no doubt aware, is the #1 guru around the world on referral-based marketing. And we've been doing a lot of work into the science and the brain chemicals around even just the word feedback and how we actually utilize it inside the health and medical industry. And so different people have different methodologies. I mean, the vast majority of people aren't even really doing a formal feedback type process, which ultimately is probably a good thing. But for those that are, some people send out emails, and that old stale approach of sending out an email after the initial assessment to find out what they did well, what they didn't do well, what did they could have done better, or how could they, what would they rate them, or, and some people even go to that dirty tactic of, if we could refer, how likely are you to refer a family or friend to our team? In other words, try and get them thinking about someone they can refer. And so some people do it as a bit of a sly way of trying to ask for a referral. Look, whether you do it via text message, whether you do it by email, it's old school, it's clunky, it's horrible, and ultimately it doesn't work. You don't get any value or benefit from it because all you're doing is getting a very one-dimensional transactional feel from the person that ultimately you're trying to get a better relationship with and some openness and honesty. Now, we know that we're wanting people to be open and honest and transparent. A lot of people use those words as well and say, you know, please be open. You know, we value your feedback. And you sit there and you go, well, ultimately, if people already trust you, you don't have to coax them into giving you honest feedback because they already trust you, which means they're going to be honest and they're going to be open. So if we already have their trust, then we don't have to tell them to give us our honest feedback because they will, which means we don't have to even premise that conversation, nor do we have to ask in such a way. And the other thing is, if they do have, if we do have their trust and we do have that honesty there, then we won't ever need to ask for some type of formal feedback because they will automatically give us that anyway. And so if we have people that aren't giving open and honest feedback in that relationship-based process, then we don't need to ask for feedback because we already know that we don't have a good and strong enough relationship with them to start with. So it sort of convolutes the scenario by putting some type of formal feedback mechanism into place. Now, we can also start talking about whether we, you know, get them after the initial assessment to quickly, you know, I know that one team we're talking to, they said they used to hand over an iPad and the person would just press a couple of buttons while they were paying and booking their next appointment. And that was their way of being able to, you know, gauge some feedback. And we've all got different ideas and thoughts about how, you know, we could make excuses about how we get great feedback on the new graduate, you know, the new graduate physio and how well the person thinks they're doing because we ask for feedback after that with a new client. But ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, I know I'm poo-pooing the whole idea of feedback. And quite simply, when it comes to formal feedback, it's not needed and we don't get what we want from it. The vast majority of people just don't respond. Those that do, always or 99% of the time, tell you you're 10 out of 10, you're bloody amazing and blah, blah, blah. We get ourselves feeling good and we don't actually get the truth. We don't actually get anything of value moving forward. And quite often we can fall into a false sense of security. So here's the thing. What we do know is that informal feedback is damn critical. But informal feedback doesn't come in the way of an email or a text message or a fill in this form or how did we do, rate us out of 10 NPS score. Informal feedback comes from our practitioners at the end of consults, throughout our consults. The development of that relationship to be able to constantly be getting little bits of informal feedback throughout each and every consult. And this becomes quite a skill that people need to be able to work with over a period of time. But we know that our leading professionals work in this type of vein. We were talking about it literally in a webinar only the other day with a whole bunch of our tribe members. And some of our leading health professionals were explaining exactly how they can go ahead and do that with their team so that they're constantly getting those little bits of feedback in a very friendly, open and honest, transparent way. But it's based on getting the feedback in the right way for the right reasons and the development around a strong relationship, not some formalized feedback via text messages and emails and rubbish like that. And so, look, let's just cut to the chase. Is feedback important? Yes, it is, but not as formalized feedback. Informal feedback that we get during consults, that we get from our strengthening of our relationship with clients and patients is absolutely critical, and we should be getting more of that. But if you're thinking about doing formalized feedback and asking questionnaires and sending out emails and that type of stuff, just don't, because it's a complete waste. We know it doesn't work, so why bother? Why waste the time and effort? Why not invest that time and effort into working with your clients and patients and getting better results as a net result of that? So let's go and get stuck into making sure that we have a lot of informal feedback in sessions. We get more clientele, having better relationships, more impact and better client results as a net result. That's what we need to be doing, not worried about what someone gives us on a score out of 0 to 10 or some type of ridiculous feedback that we do in that respect. And for heaven's sake, anyone that's doing incentives like KFC gives you a free thing of chips and drink or something when you go online and do it, anyone who's an incentive to go and do feedback in that type of way has completely missed the point, lost the point, and is even further from the reality of what they want as well. So let's not be doing that either. Feedback, let's not use the word. let's not even worry about formal feedback. Let's go with informal feedback because we know that works. We know there's value and benefit. And as a net result, we can have more people that are empowered, inspired, better clinic results, more impact, and heck, that's what it's all about. I'll talk to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.